Hello India, Namaskar Bharat. This is me, Preeti Chaudhary, your host for today on this edition of VC Spotlight with Preeti Chaudhary. My guest here today is Anand Datta, who is the Vice President of Nexus Venture Partners. Let me pull him into the stream and then we can get started. Hello Anand, how are you today?
Hey Preeti, hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. I would just like to quickly bring the audience into the perspective of the objective of today, Anand. So, with your permission, hello everyone. Once again, a warm welcome to this edition of VC Spotlight with me, your host Preeti Chaudhary, and my guest Anand Datta, who is the Vice President of Nexus Venture Partners. The whole idea of VC Spotlight is to know the human from behind the profile of this particular venture capitalist in question. And today, my guest here is my dear friend Anand, who will be talking to us everything about funding, investment, who is he, what is Nexus Venture Partners, who do they serve, and so on and so forth. Couple of quick reminders. This is a conversation and a dialogue, so please make sure, audience, you're warmly welcome to put in your questions and comments into the comment section of this LinkedIn Live, which happens to be, again, a quick reminder, VC Spotlight with Preeti Chaudhary, my guest being Anand Datta, Vice President of Nexus Venture Partners. So, having said that, let's get this conversation rolling. And what better way to do this than to actually know who Anand Datta is? So, Anand, who is Anand Datta? Where are you from? Help us understand a little bit more of your background. Um, where did you arrive from? And basically, what molded into you into this person that you are today? So it's over to you, my dear friend. All yours. Thank you.
Thanks. It's an interesting way to put it. Like, where did I come from? So no, it's been a long journey actually. Preeti, I grew up in Patna. So as we talk about tier one, tier two, tier three, Bharat, all that. So saw that very first hand. Uh, oh, did my schooling and spent around 25 years there. From there, I went to my parents were like my father has his own business, so all you talk about SMEs and everything, we have seen that firsthand as well. And my mom used to work in RBI, so grew up in a RBI colony back in Patna. After completing my school days, I joined IIT Kharagpur. From there, interestingly, I was a metallurgist. I studied in materials engineering, so I wanted to join hardcore industries and all. Joined Tata Steel, then moved to Schlumberger, spent some time over there. Moved. I was in Singapore for Schlumberger. That's where I got my MBA admit in IIM Ahmedabad and moved back to IIM Ahmedabad for my higher studies. Then post MBA, spent a bunch of time in strategy consulting, which gave me a wide perspective into how businesses work. Very early on, like you will get to meet a lot of board members and others. Mostly worked out of India. Then couple of years went to Valley on a transfer. Came back from Valley, having spent and seen some tech companies over there. Came back, got married, and in consulting, you are traveling almost 5 days a week, which is not very sustainable. My wife, she's a dentist, but she has now moved into healthcare consulting. But she at that time was practicing, so it's a little difficult, and that's where I quit consulting and moved on to join a corporate. This was Franklin Templeton in their global strategy team. However, realized that my heart actually lies working with smaller teams and smaller companies, and joined few of my sort of seniors from Bain who were starting up this company called Magic Pen. I was one of the founding team members over there in Magic Pen. Saw the journey from zero to one. I was heading BD and operations over there, and it was quite an interesting journey. And that's where, with a couple of friends who were earlier in Bain and then were working with me in Magic Pen, I thought of starting up on my own, and I started a company which was in the fintech domain, an alternate lending platform called Loan Social. Unfortunately, this was in the middle of 2016, and ironic that it is, I failed to raise fund for that company, and that company we had to shut down. And while running that company, I was bootstrapping and sort of that's where Bima came in. And then I joined Bima to launch them in India. I joined them as the India CEO back in 2016. But financial services are very heavily regulated. This is a company which works towards taking insurance to mass segments. Like, how do you take it to the next from the upper cream of the society? However, it's very unfortunate that some of the regulatory constraints made us not launch in India. And I, at that time, was working for Bima, then started working in Bangladesh, then launched them in Philippines, then launched them in Malaysia, helped them in Indonesia, and started like heading their growth markets, so to say, in Asia. And the company is scaled up very well. It's raised more than $200 million right now, so got big. But that's where I was working in Singapore, and there was discussion whether I moved to Singapore. My wife was working from here in Bangalore. We had our first baby like a year back, and the discussion was whether I keep hopping in and out of Singapore. I was doing almost like weekend trips to India and working on weekdays in Singapore. So either we moved lock, stock, barrel to Singapore, or we stayed back in India, and that's where Nexus happened. And I was like, any which ways, Nexus is a great, great firm whom I had admired for a long time. Like a small snippet. One of my closest friend used to work for Nexus, and Magic Pin, the founder whom I started with, he was ex Nexus venture partners, so had some sort of ties with Nexus always, and have had always seen Nexus as a fund which has very strong entrepreneurial ties. Like Naren is a very celebrated founder. Suveer was the starter of, in a way, the e-commerce industry in India with this Bazi.com. Sandeep himself was a very well-renowned healthcare startup founder. So when Nexus offer came up, I was like, okay, yeah, like I do at some place in my heart want to go to Singapore, but at the same time, Indian startup ecosystem is very exciting, and Nexus is one of the best funds here. So why do that? And that's where here I am. In terms of my interests and all in investing, of course, I have stayed sector agnostic, but at the same time, you can understand with my background in Franklin and then my own fintech startup and then in insurtech. Fintech insurtech remains very close to heart. I have done a couple of startup in SaaS and software. I'm a firm believer that India will create products which will go global, and that's something which interests me. And outside of that home, most of my time goes playing with my kid right now. He's 1.5 years and getting super funny. And at the same time, I like sports, most of them racket sports. So badminton, tennis. I'm trying to pick up tennis now, in a more serious way, and that's where I'm spending most of my time. Yeah.
Brilliant. So it's a well-rounded personality, so to speak, in terms of how shall I say, everything, basically a bit of everything, being an entrepreneur, being in the fintech, and going and exploring yourself in terms of India, Singapore, here, there. Absolutely brilliant. But then at some point in time, also the cognizance of the fact that priorities need to be prioritized, if I may put it that way, and then that is where the sort of growing the roots sort of set in. So thank you for that. That brings me to the very logical question of, tell us a little bit more, for the audience to understand, essentially, um, little bit more on the fund itself. What is the scope, what is the size? I know you've touched a little bit on sectors, but even then, a bit more into what kind of sectors are you all looking at? What is the target market? I think that will put paid a lot of doubts in general population people mind here, who actually do not know about Nexus Venture. So let's hear it from one amongst the team. Over to you. Thank you.
So Nexus is one of the actually not one of the, Nexus is the largest homegrown VC fund in India. So it's the total AUM right now is around $1.7 billion. We are into our fifth fund. The fifth fund itself is like roughly 350, $370 million. We are sector agnostic early stage fund. So essentially, we are not like we will be doing enterprise. Many people think because of our enterprise SaaS successes that we are enterprise SaaS company. But if you look at our consumer portfolio, this has like great unicorn companies like an Academy, Delivery. We have Rapido, we have stake in Zomato. At the same time, in B2B SaaS, we are yes amongst the clear leaders in India, like with companies like Postman, Hasura, Rancher, Dhruva, a bunch of unicorns over there. We believe in very early stage investment. So we do either Series A or pre-Series A and increasingly seed as well. We love ideating and being long-term partners of the founders. So essentially, we will come in early. We will try to help and be the entrepreneurial gene that we talked about. We'll try to work with the founders and to make sure that we shape the company along with them. So that's their core in the gene. We are also a very product first company. We believe that good products, if you create it well, they create pull for themselves. So one of the learnings that for us has been that focus on the product and the entrepreneur more than anything else. That's what we do. So, and also another important facet which is unique to Nexus is that it's a one fund, one team structure globally. So we have a team which is in Menlo Park, we have a team in Bangalore, we have a team in Bombay. But unlike, let's say, the other funds, let's say Sequoia or Axel of the world, where they have like Sequoia US, Axel US, and Sequoia India and Axel India, which have different purviews, we do not work with that. We work as one team. So let's say if Jishnu is there in US, there are teams, companies in which Jishnu and I are together on the board, and we have invested in that. Which brings in, which is one of the reasons why we are the leaders in cross-border in products, because we bring in a lot of learnings from Valley to India and take the learnings from India to Valley, and now globally. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I will take up the first audience question at this point in time because, it's good to sort of weave it into the conversation. And here is Vishal Bhatia. How far your study of metals is helping you in your profession? Is working in India tough as compared to other emerging countries like Singapore? I think a very important question of, studies versus what we end up doing in the end, and that forever comparison between the western worlds of the and the Indian ethos and so on. So over to you. Thank you.
Yeah. So my studies in metals is not helping me at all right now. If you just say that whether I apply it, investing. But see, frankly, in bachelor's, like let's remove studies in metals versus studies in IIT versus studies in the college versus study. So I fundamentally have come to realize that my bachelor's or the 4 years in college is not about just studying a subject. Yeah, if I would have studied in economics or if I would have studied in computer science, that would have been relevant and maybe I should have. But what I really like about what I got in my education during those 4 years was the first principle thinking, or the inquisitiveness, or the mental analytical bend, and all that sort of a thinking. That did not come out of the study in metals, but that did come out from the peer group I interacted with, and did come out from the college I went to, and I still cherish the fact that I ended up doing that. Uh, but yeah, if the pointed question is that metals, and is there is once in a while maybe, yeah, material science and something which comes up, and I like to think of it from that point of view, like like somebody doing something in carbon nanotubes or something in that, but it doesn't come up frequently. The second question on working in emerging markets versus working in, let's say, Singapore or US. Of course, there is a India is a lot tougher. We do have, see, finally, you have to understand, like, we are trying to cross a hump, right? And we are laggards. There is, till the time we do not accept that fact, and we want to create a false, all the inaccurate pompousness around us that we are great, and just we are being held back, we are not going to move forward. Working in India is difficult. Working conditions are difficult. Markets are lacking. Uh, Infrastructure is missing. Regulations are improving but not yet there. Compared to any place like Singapore, where you can register a company in like 2 hours, and you can always have access. Anybody can have access to internet and access to uh, any sort of good education and all, right? Like a average Singaporean or an average US guy still goes to a better education than an average Indian, far x better. So that pool is much better over there. That said, our benefit is that we have a very deep pool of people who are very hungry. the sort of hunger or the sort of competitiveness that you'll see in India, the sort of extra hours. When I was in Magic Pen, like my team I worked with, they would stay with me for their salary was probably a one fourth of what a Singaporean at their age would be getting, but they would stay awake with me for the full night to just work out and make the things clear. And the hunger to go to the next level was higher. And I believe we have to, as a country, channelize that hunger, and then make sure that we utilize it. However, for that to happen, there many other things will have to come into place, which is like the things that I talked about: infrastructure, regulation, education. Without that, it will remain tough.
Thank you. I think that would sufficiently address that query over there. Quickly, please, Anand, let's understand a little bit more about your thoughts on the funding and the ecosystem currently here in the country. And what do you think are the Indian outlooks and opportunities in terms of whether it is starting up, whether it is venturing into venture capital, and just a brief sort of overview of the Indian ecosystem along with the opportunity and outlook of it. Over to you.
So I'll summarize that similar to, I think probably there was this tale of two cities starts with this lines, right? That it was the best of the time, it was the worst of the times, and it's probably the same in the startup ecosystem right now. In terms of, if you see the support that you get in terms of starting up, when we were starting up, it was nothing like that. Like right now, you'll have $2 million angel rounds. You have so many founders who will support you with that how to set up a company, what to do on that, and all that sort of thing. The ecosystem is absolutely being like very very mature and getting like fast into a system where it's very supportive of new founders to start up. But at the same time, what's happening is that there is a lot of fluff in the market. There is a lot of fluff in the market, and a lot of people are starting up for the starting up sake, without actually deeply understanding the space where they have to start up. Because of the first factor we talked about, a lot of them are getting funded, and because of that, actual good entrepreneurs who could fight it out, grit it out, and are trying to build sustainable good business, they at times get shortchanged. So that's the thing that we have to keep a lot of times eye out for. That we are identifying good founders and we are sort of backing them, and hand over heart. That's what we always try to do at Nexus. So let's see. So I would say, if you actually understand a space and if you have identified a good problem and you're ready to go that way out, entrepreneurship is not an easy journey. Then it's the best of the time. However, at the same time, I think a lot of people are out there who are just trying to be entrepreneur because it has suddenly become cool or jazzy. You may Entrepreneurship is a very difficult journey. I have so much respect for my entrepreneur friends, the sort of grit and the things they have to move through. So it's don't do that just for the sake of doing. So
Thank you very much for that, Anand. And that brings me to my next question. Basically, please help us understand a little bit more about your Nexus's venture funding and methodology, please, and any stellar success stories you would like to share with us, please. I know all of this is available in the public domain, but nothing like hearing it from someone who's been there, done that, and lived through the process. So it's over to you, my dear friend. I would like to hear from you, please.
yeah, so Nexus, I thought of touched upon a few of the point when defining Nexus, because absolutely our process defines us. We would love to get in very early stage. We love to get in product first, entrepreneur first. Our focus is always on the entrepreneur in the space. It is the person's grit. We are just the supporter. We are the cheerleaders around there, and they carry it forward. So that's the way that's the lens we put in. Like what we would like to do is that talk to the founders, spend bunch of time with them, ideating with them, get convinced. We are a very conservative investor, so we do only like 6, 7, at max 8 deals in a year. Be very choosy, and so we keep the bar very very high. So that's where, even if we pass, that doesn't mean that they are not good founders or something. It's just that there are certain ethos in which can go on investing. So and we are very product and tech first. So we would love to like one of the lens razor sharp in our IC meetings we keep is that is the person talking about product or is they talking about just sales and GTM, because sales and GTM is also important, but product is actually. So that's
Uh,
what is. Yeah, sorry.
No, no, absolutely fine. Absolutely spot on, I think, over there. It would also help me to understand what's your average ticket size, if at all, or does that vary? And
Yeah.
is there any particular philosophy, any particular business philosophy that you folks operate from? That will also sort of put in a lot of things in perspective. Over to you. Thank you.
Series, Series A ticket sizes are generally anywhere from like 3 million to like 6, 7 million, 8 million on the upper side. We tend to do almost, I would say 50, 60% Series A. Then there are pre-Series A, which are more like 2 million sort of a range. And there are seed rounds, which are less than 2 million or 1.5 million also, which will be like probably 10 minutes or 10% or 15% of them will be like seed, which is increasing right now. At least what I'm seeing is that the seed rounds are increasing, the 1 billion, 1.5, because everybody now wants to get in early if there is a good entrepreneur. Because as like the one of the things which VC funds would like always is to have a good cap table representation. That's where, because once the company grows, they dilute, and you not are not left with as much cap table as you would want at the time of exit. So that's what we would like to do. So that's where. So that's the check size. I didn't quite catch the question around the business philosophy side. Like, what did you?
Yeah. I just mean generally, is there any sort of, all the partners and everything else? Is there something particular, or let's call it the company culture? Are there anything striking that sort of stands out and that speaks to all of you in the same voice? And that is something that you would like to see delivered from your founders and your investee companies as well, is what I'm on about. Over to you.
Yeah, yeah. So we are uh, as a fund, we are very very entrepreneurial in nature. Like there is literally, if you ask me personally, very less processes, very less, no hierarchy. This is like just 8 9 of us across the globe, and trying to focus, completely hustling, trying to meet good people. No seniority. Like there is some seniority. Obviously, any organization has seniority, but there is no disregard because somebody is not senior and somebody is junior. So that's the sort of thing, that's the sort of ethos we look for our founders also, that very high on hustle, very high on grit, that very high on first principle thinking, that it's not just the experience which matters. What matters is that can I sit and think through things from the first principle and sort of answer them. So that's generally the ethos of the company itself, and that's the ethos with which we look at the entrepreneurs also.
Fair enough. Tell us some of your success stories, please.
Yeah, we would like to think all our fundings are success stories. It's everything is there in the journey. In terms of, if you say outcome successes, there are a bunch of them, right? Look at if I just go by the recency one, Postman has been an outlier completely. We went in at seed, where it was just two very good engineers who were trying to make a Chrome extension, and that Chrome extension was loved by all other engineers. So we knew that it's two talented people seems to be doing something which seems like it will be in future very high need. Nobody were talking about APIs at that time. Like this is back in 2011, 12 sort of thing. So we invested, and for the long time we didn't care about, like they were a cash flow positive company since we invested, and they were not raising. Right now also they did not need to raise. It was incoming, and they wanted to like get some people on board, and they are building fundamentally very very good companies, and they did not care about whether they are getting the public light being called unicorn or not. So such is the ethos of the company. And now when suddenly, and we always knew and we always realized that this is going to be a great company, whether people call it, know it or not. And now people are trying to talk about it. But for me, even before it came to public news, since I joined Nexus, I have always been internally hearing that, Postman is going to be an era defining company. It's going to be a different company altogether. And same is true for a bunch of other companies. Like look at delivery, Indian e-commerce, the boom you are seeing, one of the drivers of that delivery. Like I have Sahil used to work with us in Bain as well before he was an entrepreneur. So I have seen him since their soccer days when we used to play. And they were there, like Sahil, Mohit, Suraj, all these guys were together. They started with thinking something we'll do in a hyper local, logistics, which Nexus supported again based on the team and knowing that since e-commerce is coming, something is going to happen in this space. And since then, we have stayed put as friends, and the company. Look at how it has driven the Indian e-commerce ecosystem. And there are a bunch of them, other of them also, like like an academy is there. White Hat Junior is recently in so much in news. But I would like to think that like many where even the fund outcome has not been there, but there are so many where we have learned so much from the entrepreneurs that also should be categorized as success. Even if hasn't gone anywhere. So,
Absolutely, I'm with you on that. For me, also, success is not about getting funded. Basically, it is something that can teach you a lesson in whatever capacity it can. I think the journey and the process is more than the actual outcome sometimes, because that in itself also speaks a lot. That brings
yeah.
me to my next question, Anand. What is the number one priority of the business right now, please? And any one of the largest business accomplishments that you can think of, that something that makes you go, wow, we did that, kind of a thing. So over to you.
So, largest accomplishment I would say is that to take the signal out from the noise, though we want to keep the quality very high. In India, actually, if you ask me right now, more capital is chasing uh, very shallow market in consumer. And then suddenly, because of that, SaaS has become hot. So, a lot of capital is chasing SaaS and global this way. So, the idea is to be in touch with very high quality people, be in touch with entrepreneurs if they are even starting or not starting. And when the high quality person is starting up, then try to see if he is in the same space and your things are aligning. Then you pick them, like work with them. It's very easy to just open up the purses and then just go spray and pray. Like I'll take optionality value by putting in 1 million everywhere that I want. But that's not how a VC should work. And that's where the number one priority of the company, if you ask me, is to keep the bar very high and to make sure that we are able to pick the signal out of noise. Because in VC, real success or failure does not, you don't even get to know about it in like 7 8 years time, because companies will raise fund. What's going to happen? Somebody could look that they are doing extremely well and they will just fall flat. We have had such companies, and you will realize that some companies which are not taking time and suddenly they will zoom past everyone else and then come out as a large company. So that's yeah. And sorry, what was the next question about from the business priority? It was
uh, One of the biggest accomplishments that makes you go, wow, we did that, kind of a thing.
Yeah, so I think let's take the White Hat Junior example, right? Indian startup ecosystem has been notorious for not having exits. Like for the longest time before Flipkart, everybody was asking like, where's going the money going to be made? And here we are in a startup where we were there for 2 years. We were just the seed and the Series A, and within 2 years, yeah, it sold for all cash deal of $300 million. So it's unheard of in the startup ecosystem. And while just funding outcome, exit outcome should not be the only thing to cherish about, but the sort of impetus it gives to the startup ecosystem in India, like suddenly all the hedge funds and everybody just kind of know, wow, this can happen. That sort of things which makes me very excited about what we achieved in Nexus over there.
Thank you. And personal question here.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about the founder, 4G kid, going all over the place, basically finding himself and going up and down and all of that. You've sort of dealt with him, say, for the last 18 months, 24 months. What do you make of him as a person? Because you have said to me earlier that Nexus is all about product and person, the two P's. So, what's he like? What do you find is are the points that sort of pull people to him, and what's he got that the others haven't?
I think he's still not done. He'll do and achieve
Yeah.
much more bigger things in his life for sure. He's that sort of person. You'll see his life trajectory every 2 years. He does something else, and he sort of massives it out, like, becoming Discovery CEO, going on yoga trips, and then writing two, three books. Which, by the way, a lot of my friends later told me, "Hey, we didn't even realize that was Karan's book." I was like, "Yeah." So, although I know from our team, Anup has worked most closely with him, but I have sort of Anup and Pratik, and I have sort of seen him very, very closely on only on our meetings and all. If you look at this again, like, White Hat Junior to many people will be a contrarian bet, because 2 years ago, everybody thought coding is a very niche market. It will be done by, let's say, one of those Bajus or an academy themselves, and this one. And why would you put in the other way of seeing, looking at the founder as to say that, hey, every 2 years he does something else, whether he will be building it out and making a large business or not. So all hats off to Anup to stick his neck out and say that, no, I see something in this space and I like the founder, so I'll take a very contrarian bet. For in all aspects, this is a super contrarian bet which Nexus took. And as Warren Buffett says, that most amount of money is made out of the contrarian bets. Like, when you go super focused into a contrarian bet and it pays out, that's where the highest multiple comes. So Karan is a great guy. I think after everything settles down on White Hat Junior, also, I will not be surprised if it comes out with comes out swinging with something even better, even larger.
I am sure of that because, like you said, there is a legacy there. There is a sort of a journey right there, which every 24 months, something new comes out of his hat. So, you never know what he might pull out next time from his hat. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Right. So, the next one, um, what do you believe is the biggest strength of Nexus? And what is the future vision, please? If you can help us understand that a little bit.
I think the theme, and that's true for any organization. So it's a very cliched answer, but even so, in a business which is more, what do you say, the services slash brain power business, the team is the main thing. And if you look at it, there is a very, very high quality team which has very entrepreneurial genes, who stick and work together, and bring in multicultural, multi like the learnings from US, the learning from this company, and together, like, Naren has seen probably the most number of IPO companies from India and all that sort of thing. So that sort of thing is what I believe makes Nexus stand out. Second, the empathy part. Nexus is, if you ask any founder, and I was seeing Ritesh from Stellaris, he was asked a question in AMA recently, that which is the fund he would like to work most, and he was like, Nexus, because the way Nexus sticks out its neck for the founders, even when the shit hit the fan. That was one of the reasons why I felt like choosing Nexus to work with, by the way, because I have seen that reputation. So that empathy for entrepreneurs and the team itself, I think these two together is what will help Nexus succeed. And the vision is to make sure that we continue that. Our team is very small, so we are very selective in growing the team also, and then we keep a very, very high bar on choosing people in the team.
Okay, fair enough. Now that brings me to a little bit of advice from you, please, and you can be as candid or as little as you want, really. But here, I actually want you to speak from your heart in terms of talking to the founders who are out there, who are. This is a two-part question. So this is for founders who want to start up. So a little bit of advice on that side, and for the ones that have already started up and who want to go on their funding journey, what would be your advice of maybe a few things of what not to do and a few things of what ought to do to make their journey a little bit more smoother for them? Over to you. And you are from both sides of the coin, Anand. You've been an entrepreneur, you've been into the corporate, and now you're in the venture funding space. So it's all about your own personal experiences and professional experiences. I think that'll add a lot of value. Over to you. Thank you.
So to your first question, like what they should do and they start, like, I think very, very, very hard on why you are starting up. Do you have enough conviction on the problem statement that you have taken? Because it's going to be a hard journey. Even if the funding comes, there is no easy journey in entrepreneurship. Like, the fundings will dry up, you will work 24/7, you will get pushed like a little away from your family because your life day in day out will become that startup. So are you signing up? And I know that everybody talks about these, but until unless you are thrown into that water, it becomes very difficult. Like when I was doing my startup, literally I was not able to raise fund. Every month I will have to break a fixed deposit and make sure my family is running. And at the same time, while my like compatriot from consulting would be drawing fat checks and going out partying, I would have to, for the first time in my life, cut out and not go anywhere. So are you motivated? And you, that time you'll be asking a question that why am I doing this? And in that question, do you like, are you ready to take that shit up? That's the main thing that you have to convince yourself 100%. All the fashion jazz that comes out to the 2% or 1% of the startups, rest of them have to grit it out. So that will be the first thing to think about, whether you want to grit it out for this problem statement or not. And to raise the funding, that's the main thing, right? Like, think about this question, that why are you the guy, and why is this the idea that you have thought about it, which the other people should put your money on. Don't think. I see a lot of entrepreneur thinking around this. ये इसको भी पैसा मिल गया है, उसको भी पैसा मिल गया, आज की मार्केट में जो भी आते हैं उसको पैसा मिल जाता है, तो मुझे तो पैसा मिल जाएगा क्योंकि मैं फॉर द लैक ऑफ अदर थिंग मैं आईआईटी गया हूँ, मैं आईएम गया हूँ, तो मैं तोप हूँ. मैंने भी यही सोचा था कि आई आल्सो थॉट कि आई हैव गॉन टू आईआईटी, आई हैव गॉन टू आईएम, every VC should be queuing up to me and giving that money. Yes, you have done few things in your life which shows that you are great, but there are probably 1,000 more people like that in the market. What will actually make you great in that position to win? See, today if Federer starts playing football, he will be not a great player, right? Federer has to choose tennis and play tennis. Similarly, Messi has to choose football and play football. Messi cannot go out trying to beat Djokovic. He cannot do it. So why are you the person? Why do you, and what space are you choosing? And why are you the right person of that space to solve that problem? If in your heart you are convinced, and if you can are truly like set in that mission, I think there are 10 other VCs who will come. To funding is collateral. 99 VCs will say no. One VC will put that money in. The color of the money is green. You'll get that $1 million. You will start your company. So while raising funding, don't try to answer what is hot, what the VCs are doing, and all that. Many founders before starting, like keep coming to us and trying to find out that what is going hot in the market, what is it that, obviously there will be tailwinds and all. You should research about the tailwinds, why certain products have a the timing for that product has come. But at the same time, most important question to ask is, why are you the right person to solve it? Why is it the right question to solve it? And why are you the right person to solve this right question? So that combination is what will make you stand out to raise funding. So that's, I don't know if that answers
Fair
your
enough.
question.
Absolutely spot on, So, my last question for this part of the conversation: any regrets at all in terms of all that you have done in your life so far, in terms of, starting up, then shutting down, and then consulting, then being into the corporate? Any regrets at all of anything whatsoever?
By regrets, if you mean failures, yeah, then it's full of, my CV is full of
No, no,
failures.
no, 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 no. No, I don't necessarily mean failure. It could be failure as well, but
Mhm.
something like, what if I had done this, then that, all those kind of regrets. अगर ये किया होता तो, या,
Yeah, but
those
like,
kind of things.
that you can ask for any, like, I really do not want to be a Gyani Baba saying this stuff, but the philosophy in life is that, like, you can go back in time and question any decision making, but at that time there are different reasons for which you do, like, if you push me, like, for example, should I have gritted it on and tried a little more on my startup, try to run it a little longer, I would probably right now say yes, I should have. But at the same time, I knew at that time the situation was bleak. I did not have money. What would I do? So, in hindsight, many questions can be looked at and be regretted on. I generally tend to not do that. Otherwise, life will still move on. So,
Fair
yeah.
enough. Absolutely fair enough. So That brings us to essentially to know you as a person, the fund that you are representing, the processes that you folks follow at Nexus Venture Partners, your journey, the successes, fund size, ticket size, and all of that. So, thank you very much for all that information. Here's a little bit for the audience that's tuned in today. Please go to the website if you need a deeper dive into any of or if there are any questions or queries. Please, it's nexusvp.com. That's the website. There are contacts over there. If you need to reach out to anyone for any sort of queries or questions, please do that. Anand is available on LinkedIn. You can get connected and dive deeper. Now, with that, this section of the conversation is done. Now comes the fun part. Are you ready, Anand?
Let's go for it. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So
yeah.
I am going to be asking you some rapid fire questions. The whole
Mhm.
point is you do not need to dwell on them any longer than 1 second. Whatever comes to your mind first, that is the answer to it. Are you ready?
Yeah, just let's go for it. Yeah.
Okay, let's go for this. Who is your favorite cartoon character and why?
My favorite cartoon character is probably Tom, not Jerry, because I like his what do you call his never give up attitude. Like that dude keeps trying, just keeps going, and he's the underdog actually in that story. I like underdogs, so
Fair enough. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go and why would you go there?
I love Southeast Asia, if I can say as a whole. I love beaches. I am getting like snorkeling or diving gives me peace. Like you are cut off from the world, you are cut off from the noise, and you are just hearing yourself. So any of the beaches in either in Southeast Asia or Andamans, like that entire Thai Strait, I love them. So
Okay, brilliant. What's your dream job, Anand?
I'm in it right now. So thanks.
Great. Morning person or a night person?
I'm a night person. Very hard to get up in the morning.
Okay. What's your favorite hobby?
Well, I'm a very fickle-minded in my hobbies. There, like kept on changing. So right now it's tennis. I love to play tennis in the free time. I used to play. I've played badminton, football. Swimming is something which I like, but right now with COVID and all, swimming is completely out of question. But my hobbies keep changing. So
Okay, fair enough. For the most part, right now it is tennis. Otherwise, it keeps changing, which is great because change is the only constant, Anand.
yeah,
Remember
that's
that.
right.
Yeah.
If you ask my wife, she will tell you. I was just thinking right now, beyond your
Yeah.
1 second, she'll tell you that
Please.
binge watching Netflix is my hobby. That's what she'll say.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So what is the one thing that annoys you the most, Anand?
One thing that annoys me the most is probably politics, not as in this of the world, but uh, like when you have to think beyond work and beyond just the quality of work, and if things like that happen, that just annoys me. Yeah, people need to
Okay.
be straight. People need to be straight and transparent with me. That's what I like and what I do.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely correct. What is the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Strangest thing I've eaten a stingray. Stingray is I don't know if you know stingray is a wild animal with big. I've eaten quite strange things in I love experimenting with food. I've eaten octopus. I've eaten stingray. I've eaten eel. I've eaten snakes. So bunch of stuff I've eaten. Yeah.
So
So
that is the Southeast Asian connection because for me also having lived in China for almost 8 years, I can
yeah,
imagine the fascination with the crickets and the creepy crawlies. So
yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Crickets are tasty by that. Very very crunchy from outside. This thing.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but yeah.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing about someone in your family? It could be anyone.
My kid, his innocence. So
Okay.
he's just like as I talk to you, like every time I see my kid, I learn a lot here. Like no guile, nothing random stuff he'll keep doing, and he'll keep trying to do that only. So it's a beautiful time of the life. So
Yep. Under two, I mean, that's the best age actually right now. So, yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. Enjoy that. What is one
Yeah.
of your weird quirks, Anand?
What is my weird quirks? That's something which probably some of my friends will be able to say. If I knew about my quirks, no, yeah, I can't come up with some anything, nothing that
That
comes to my mind. Right.
that's okay. I think I will ask your wife next or your friends next, so
Yeah,
that's okay.
they'll be able to tell you that. Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sure this next one you can do because all you have to do is describe yourself in three
Hmm.
words.
Describe myself in 3 words. I would try to say friendly, open, and a little random at times. That's if you
I
call
think
it quirky, like random because my hobbies, my choices can vary a lot. Like uh, I might be watching at times. Probably might be listening to Bach, and at the same time, I might be reaching to Dinchak Puja. So I can go from all the spectrum. So so random is something which I'll add to. Yeah. So
fair enough.
yeah.
If you could trade lives with anyone for a day, who would
Hmm.
it be and why?
Life with anyone from it for a day. Oh wow. Okay. That's probably like it's not like it's not a person I'll know a name of, but maybe some wildlife photographer or a deep sea photographer from Nat Geo or Discovery. Like I just find their job to be so interesting. Maybe David Attenborough. Yeah, that's the name. Yeah, like maybe David Attenborough to have as a whole life passion around nature and looking out and work doing it for a job. That's quite. I would say liberating. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And what's that first thing that you do when you get up in the morning?
Brush my teeth.
Okay.
That probably everyone does that.
So some,
But it
Anand,
was,
some people pick up their phones before they even brush their teeth. So you're right
oh
with
man,
brushing your
yeah.
teeth. I think is getting rare. That is coming in
Uh,
second or third into the list. Maybe phone first and then something else and then brushing the teeth. But anyway, that brings me to the next one. What
yeah.
would you do on Mars for fun?
What will I do for Mars for fun?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
for that I'll have to figure out what is there in Mars. But
that's fair
well,
enough. Yeah.
yeah, like listen or discover the place. Like I don't know. Like it's a funny question. What will I do?
Okay.
Hmm.
No, if you can think of something, fine. If you're not, that's good enough because you're willing to at least read about it and get to know. So that's an answer in itself. That's acceptable
Sure,
to me.
sure, sure.
Thank you. Now the next one. What's the worst place you could get stuck at?
What the
Nightmare.
worst place?
Yeah, you do not want to be stuck in or at that particular place.
Yeah,
Whatever maybe
yeah,
you've thought of
yeah.
something.
I know, and I have a very specific answer because this was the coal mines in when I was working in Tata Steel, right? We will go to visit the coal mines in Jharia, West Bokaro, and all these places. The
Yeah,
places are scary. I would never watch. Like I was holding on to my torch because you just have a torch with which you are walking down, and it's literally thousands of feet below the earth, and you know that. Like pretty much a mistake and you lose your life. So I will never want to get stuck over there. I hate darkness. So I hate to get stuck in darkness. Yeah.
and something that sort of resonates with me as well. Again, very claustrophobic, and I've gone down coal mines shafts myself in Madhya Pradesh. My uncle used to be in a place called Korba, which is known for
Okay.
its aluminium and coal mines and all of that. Oh my God, the darkness, the way
Yeah.
that you keep going in, it starts getting colder and colder and colder. It's like, oh, get me out of here. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's hard to describe till you are there, like to learn actually how scary it can get, and to see
yeah,
people go out there and work and wow, that's quite crazy.
I know. Tell us about that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, what would you do with your 15 minutes of fame, Anand?
What will I do if I have 15 minutes of fame? Oh no. Is it? enjoy it, like enjoy it and go and show up, like go to my friends and say that, dude, you didn't get it, I got it. Like that's, I don't know, like, I'm not like, like I'm not going to go can change the world in 15 minutes or something. I like, well, better spend it on myself being happy about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Why? Why not? Just go for it, enjoy it. Why not? You do. It's not every day you become famous for like 15 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah.
My
I think
last
I'm
question.
getting 1 hour right now. So let me get famous on this. So, okay.
So that brings me to my last rapid fire question. Where would you go if you were invisible?
Where would I go if I were invisible? Probably to Buckingham Palace. I have so been intrigued since I saw that what's the life exactly inside, and you watch this crown and all this sort of scenes, and you're like, okay, what goes on there? I like, I wouldn't go into like boardrooms and all like this just to pass. I would like to see actually how the royals, what do they do when you got nothing to do.
Brilliant. Yeah, that was amazing. So that sort of brought out a lot of, the child, the boy, the man, and all of that from inside you, these rapid fires. And that's the whole point of it, just to give it a lighter note to sort of get to know the person behind this particular profile. And that's brought me to the end of this conversation. Anand, before I say our thanks and bye to the audience, is there any specific sort of thing that you want to say to the young professionals and students of today, culled from your own experiences? Um,
Yeah.
Anything that you would like to say to them, please? Over to you.
Yeah. If one thing I have to say to this generation, like India is going through a change where, for the first time, the older generation has worked and given some sort of social security to the younger generation, at least to a large part of it, not still to the entire younger generation, but to a lot of us who were used to be in the middle class earlier. Our parents have done enough that we do not have to think about how will you feed yourself if you were, like if you did not take up that first job that comes to you. So our generation, many people among us have worked from local optima to local optima. What I mean by that is that क्लास 10th में बोला यार आईआईटी कर लो, दैट इज द बेस्ट ऑप्शन, गो टू आईआईटी. आईआईटी में हो गया कि टेक द कैंपस में डे जीरो जॉब, दैट्स द बेस्ट वन. आई स्टिल रिमेंबर आई एम अहमदाबाद. Day zero job was to go to Bain and all the consulting or iBanking. Day
Yeah.
four, like nobody who got in, they went to Flipkart or Myntra and all. And if you ask me, my friends, and a couple of my friends took a choice and went there. But those friends who actually went there and worked out, they have probably done much, much better or learned much more in their career than a bunch of us who went into the local optimum choice. So if I had to give one advice to the young generation of now, what I would have done differently if I were here, I will try to think very hard from what I want to do a little bit more on long term, build that ambition in, and try to work towards that instead of saying that okay, आज के दिन में अगले 2 साल में मेरे को यही करना है. So that's the advice I would give.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of this conversation. It's time to say our thank yous and goodbyes. So, first of all, thank you to the audience. If you were not here, we would not be talking to anyone. So, my dear audience, thank you so much. Secondly, Anand, thank you for coming out and spending this time with talking to me. It was a pleasure getting to know a little bit more about you, your ethos, your thinking, your thought process, and the fun part of you as well.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
to
much.
Thank you to Echo Events for bringing this stream. This is me, Preeti Chaudhary, your host for VC Spotlight by Preeti Chaudhary, featuring Anand Datta, Vice President of Nexus Venture Partners, saying our adios until next time. Take good care and stay safe. Thank you, Anand. See you soon.
Thank you.